The Tom Woods Show, bonus episode 1644.
Prepare to set fire to the index card of allowable opinion. Your daily dose of liberty education starts here. The Tom Woods Show.
Hey everybody, Tom Woods here. I am joined today by Rachel Roffé, who is the expert when it comes to print on demand, because I have finally decided to concede, after all these years of people saying, Woods, how come I can't get Tom Woods Show merchandise? Believe it or not, people do say that to me. You think he has to be making that up. No, I have had people say that to me time and again, and I've basically told them to go jump in a lake. And I finally decided, okay, I surrender. I will produce some kind of merchandise, and I'll let you know about it when it's available. But when I decided I wanted to do that, and I'll probably mention this to the guest, actually, I thought, well, I'm not going to figure this out by myself. That is the one option that is not on the table. I am not going to figure this out myself. I'm going to pay somebody to do it for me, basically. And so I went and found somebody who knows this stuff inside and out. And the reason he knows it inside and out is that he learned it from Rachel Roffé. So I'm going straight to the source here. She is the expert when it comes to print on demand, making mugs and other sorts of products with funny little slogans on them. And it's the sort of thing where if you really devote yourself to it, you'll find that it's a fun thing to do and you can actually generate some nice side dough from it. You probably will not retire in Hawaii, but that's a little bit too much to expect from a little thing you do in your spare time. But it's a nice little thing that you can build for yourself where you know what it is you're going to be doing. And it's not technical, it's not complicated. You're designing mugs, and you don't even have to design them. You just put words on them, and a company does all of it for you. But it's a cute little thing. There are a lot of Tom Woods Show listeners who do this. There are a lot of Tom Woods Show listeners who follow and learn from Rachel Roffé, because I like her. I've talked to people on my email list about her for a long time. And I thought, well, given that right now I'm in the middle of putting together some merchandise offerings, well, it seemed like an appropriate time to have her on, especially given that we're all stuck in our houses and nobody knows what's really going to happen. And doggone it, if my message to you that maybe having another income stream might not be a bad idea doesn't resonate yet, then it's never going to resonate. So she's a good person to get to know for that reason. Rachel, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Obviously, we both know Adam Schneider because he worked with you, worked under you. He learned from you in your program. And recently I decided that I was going to start producing merchandise for my show. I've had a lot of people saying, why can't I get a t-shirt from you? Why can't I get a hat? What's wrong with you? So I decided I would do it. And the person I thought to consult with on it was Adam, because he has his own podcast on print on demand, and he learned from you. And then I've had other people. I had somebody who runs a nonprofit who wanted to do merchandise. And I said, well, go talk to Adam. And then Adam did a podcast episode on print on demand for nonprofits. But he knows what he knows, partly through his own experience, but largely because he learned it in your program, a program that I've been very happy and proud to promote. So that's why I'm talking to you. You are kind of a kingmaker in this area. I've seen in your Facebook group a whole bunch of my own listeners who are reporting on how their 30-day sales are going. This warms my heart to see all that. So I want to talk about you. How long have you been in this particular area of print on demand?
I guess this particular area, maybe since 2015 or 2016, like online in general since 1997, selling random things on eBay. But print on demand, I would say, 2015.
Oh, okay. So what happened to make you shift? I mean, did you just start having a lot of success with it?
I mean, I think I've always played with lots of different business models and had many different companies and stuff. And then back in 2015, I don't remember, do you remember the launch for ASM? They were teaching you how to sell physical products on Endcard.
Yeah, is it something like Amazing Selling Machine? Yeah, I know about it, but I was never part of it.
Yeah, so I got it back then, and I was trying to sell, I think it was like wooden easels, and it did decently. I was selling decently on it, and then at the same time, my fiance had a Pitbull page on Facebook, and so he was just selling random products, and I saw that he had been playing with a mug. He had been selling a mug. And so I put it on Amazon, and I didn't actually send any inventory or anything in. Because on Amazon, there's a way where you can do it either fulfilled by Amazon, where you ship it to Amazon and they send it for you, or you could do it fulfilled by merchant, where it's only ever, in my case, I only ever make it after it's sold. And so I put it up there, and it was immediately making between like a few hundred to a few $1,000s a month. And it's like, that's pretty cool. And so I put, more and more up. And it was just, I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun because I would sometimes just lay in bed, like, and coming up with phrases and having a good time with it. So, yeah. And then I'd been teaching marketing for a while too. And so while all this was happening and I was starting to make like many thousands of dollars a month or whatever with it, people were like, you should, maybe put this in a course or whatever. And so I did that. And then it was just like, I don't know, success kind of begets success. And it was really fun because I was having fun being creative. It was fulfilling to see people get success with it. And so and then I ended up opening up a warehouse, fulfilling the orders for all of the people going through the system. So it just became a whole big thing.
Well, one of the reasons I like it is that it's easy for the average person to get what they would be doing. If I try to describe what affiliate marketing is to people, well, they get it, but it just doesn't seem to them like something they would do. But, design a mug? Sure, I could do that. And when I say design, I don't mean you need to be able to draw anything, because heaven help me, we'd all be in trouble if we all had to do that. But because a lot of these, it just amounts to words on a mug. You can do designs, but even that you can outsource to somebody. But I think people can get, okay, I've used mugs. I've used pillowcases. I've used these things. I know what they are, and I know what's involved here. Now, what I've noticed with this is that there are certain times of the year that seem to do really well. I mean, Christmas does well for everybody in any niche, but this is particularly sensitive, this kind of business, to things like Mother's Day, Father's Day, stuff like that, because people are looking around for some kind of harmless gift with some catchy slogan on it, because they don't know, what else am I going to get my secretary? What else am I going to get these people? Now, is that really the case? Do you see like a big spike on those days?
Yeah, for sure. Christmas is our biggest one, and then Father's Day is our second biggest holiday, because I think a lot of people don't know what to get their dads, so it's like a mug or a tie or something. So Father's Day, and then Mother's Day, then maybe fourth is Valentine's Day. I mean, there's year-round sales for birthdays and things, but certainly those periods are a very high peak.
Is there a concern that too many people are getting into this? There are too many mugs, too many options. How do you fight against that?
I mean, the way that I look at it is, first of all, I tell people not to go after broad phrases like funny mug or something, because in that case, yes, there is a lot of competition. But most of the time, we're making mugs or it could be like you were saying, pillowcases, shirts, other products. We're making them for, let's say, funny knitter, like funny gift for knitter. Someone goes on Amazon, types in funny gift for knitter, they have something like that, or Pitbull mom, or Rottweiler mom, or I mean, there's literally thousands and thousands of niches. So there's lots of little pockets for people to go into that aren't really very competitive. And really, if you look at the stats for e-commerce overall, it's kind of crazy, like how many people are just now starting to buy more online. So, I mean, we have my sales go up every year. A lot of the people, Adam Schneider, who I love, by the way, many other people report their sales just go up year after year after year. It's kind of like the more you list, too, the more Amazon and Etsy and eBay reward you. And so you can just keep doing more. So I haven't had it be a problem at all, really.
All right. Well, that's so is the basic idea that there's some company, I guess in your case, it's Gear Bubble, that actually has the physical mugs and they produce the product. You just tell them what to put on it?
Yeah, exactly. So the way it works is you come up with your design, you put it on like a blank picture or mock-up. So I might go on my phone and then make a design that says best knitter ever, download it to my phone, and then put it on a picture of the blank mug. I'll press a button that uploads it over to Amazon, Etsy, or eBay. And then whenever the sale is made, the order information goes back through GearBubble, goes to the warehouse. The warehouse grabs the image, puts it on the mug, and then ships it to your customer on your behalf. So it's just like the biggest thing you get to do is just come up with the phrases, really, and then make good titles and stuff. So yeah, it's cool because you don't have to buy any inventory up front. When I was buying those easels, for example, I was spending many thousands of dollars, and luckily it worked out, but I was always in fear that if I got a bad review or something, that all those thousands of dollars would be wasted because nobody would want to buy the product anymore. And so when I'm creating these products, it's like each one takes a couple seconds to create. I call it throwing spaghetti at the wall, see what sticks. And it's just a fun kind of low stress way to make some sales.
Is there any design, or again, when I say design, maybe I'm making it sound too complicated, but is there any mug idea, for example, that you had that just seemed like, just as good as any other idea, and it just took off and surprised you?
Yeah, there are so many of them. This was kind of like I guess it's a little, sometimes like the innuendo kind of ones do well. There was one I had seen on a tote bag or something, and I just kind of changed it up and put it on a mug. For knitters, it was I love big balls, and it was a big picture of yarn, and people just ate it up. So that kind of thing, people are even something like best knitter ever. People love that. Or there's so many things that surprise me. There's people in the group all the time. They're like, I can't believe that this is selling.
Well, so the thing I would want to know if I were getting into this would be, maybe I might be good at this. I might come up with funny things. And one of the things I noticed in your webinar, which, by the way, is probably the most informative webinar I've ever seen on anything having to do with online income, without a doubt, because so many of these webinars, you sit through it and it's mostly a sales pitch, and then it's clearly a sales pitch. And yours, it's just, here's the first step, here's the second step, then you do this, then you do this. I just can't get over what a great webinar it is. But anyway, I'd want to know, maybe I do take some of your suggestions as to where to get ideas. And for example, just what you said just now, you saw something on a tote bag. No reason that can't be on a mug. There's no reason to make it harder than it has to be. But once I've come up with these, then the question becomes, how do I get people to know that they exist? And it seems that there are a couple of different approaches. I mean, one would be, if there is such a thing as Amazon SEO, there are certain key words I want to put in the product name or the description to make it pop up when people search for it. But then also, if I want to be really ambitious, I could do things like Facebook ads. And these days, I think because I'm in middle age, I am seeing the most boomer, awful stuff showing up on my Facebook ads of a bedspread that I would want to buy for my wife, which not in a million years would I buy this bedspread. It's just got boomer written all over it. But I get these things all the time, mugs and whatever. So some people are using Facebook ads for this. Is that something that you do and you recommend? Because that could be a hard, tough nut to crack.
Yeah, I don't do Facebook ads for a few reasons. Number one, I don't really have patience for them. They're not really fun for me. Also, the thing is, when I gave you the example of the one mug, I mentioned a design on them, but usually they're just text-based. In fact, text-based often does better because when you're selling these things, you're trying to sell to lots of different people, and the more kind of variables that you have on the design, the more opportunity someone might not like it, which is why something like best knitter ever would work really well. Like, no one's going to be offended at best knitter ever. They're not going to like the text color or something. But that being said, the designs then are more simple. And so the reason that they do well on Amazon and to eBay is someone's typing in, like I was saying, like funny knitting mug or funny gift for knitter. And so you're giving them exactly what they're already saying they want to spend money on. But with Facebook, you're kind of trying to convince people to buy from you. So it's a different selling proposition. It's a lot harder. I'd rather just go where people are saying they want to give me money versus trying to convince anybody of anything.
Right. Now, I've done some Facebook ads and it's done okay for me. But you're right that it's a different frame of mind that people are in. When people are on Facebook, they're trying to find out what their friends are up to. Maybe they'll see a headline of a news story or something. But when you're scrolling through Facebook, you're not saying, let me look for something to buy. So it's a different mentality. So you're right. Naturally, it does work better when you're just pitching it in places where people are already there. They already want to buy things. Does anybody who follows your program try to do this kind of thing in other languages other than English?
Yeah, they have. And you can actually sell on Amazon Europe and different places. I know some people publish on wish.com, and those go to lots of other countries. So yes, they do the translations. They also do sometimes like half English, half another language, or they'll make mugs about that's for example, Canada-born Greek roots or something like that. We've seen it all over. I mean, yeah, there's all kinds of little sub niches and ways you can profit with these because everyone drinks from mugs. Everyone wears shirts.
I think on Facebook, I've seen things like, I'm the best Massachusetts grandma you've ever seen. And then obviously they've got some kind of an algorithm where they're looking for women from Massachusetts who have grandchildren. And then they try and pitch this ridiculously artificial product on them on the basis of their narrowing down the Facebook audience. It's just, it doesn't really work. Whereas I like just your simple approach. And then also the other thing is, I mean, I was talking about Mother's and Father's Day, and you've been talking about knitters. You're basically, you want to look for some area where people are passionate. I mean, there are a lot of knitters who, doggone it, they take knitting seriously. It really, really matters to them. But this could also be true of horseback riding or a lot of things that people are passionate about. That's the area. I mean, that's the kind of sweet area where you want to go, because these are the sorts of people other people will think, what do I know about Sally? Oh, yeah, she likes to ride horses. You know, that's the thing they remember about her, is that passionate thing. And then that's the natural go-to for gift giving.
Yeah, exactly. It's a thoughtful kind of thing. So the hobbies are really good. Sometimes we do really well with occupations. So people will, they're proud to be a lawyer, for example, or a nurse or whatever. They love their animals too. So like you said, the horse riding, different dog breeds, they do really well too. Like there's so many little pockets of places where people are really passionate. Farm animals, oh my gosh.
Is there a reason people would prefer to sell on a platform like Etsy as opposed to Amazon?
I mean, I think I always tell people to publish on both. Etsy right now is a little bit better for new sellers, as in people will see sales very quickly, usually on Etsy, whereas Amazon sometimes fast, sometimes it takes a little bit. Um, but I think that Amazon overall has like a bigger pool of buyers. And so I mean, especially if you're doing it where you're just hitting upload and having it poured over to the different sites, I think there's no reason not to go to as many places as you possibly can.
So describe for me, maybe in 60 seconds, just the steps that I have to follow between I have an idea and I have a product for sale on Etsy. How do I go from A to B?
Yeah, so if you have your idea, you could go on a free site like pixplosion.com, or you could go on your app on your phone. I have WordSwag. I think it's a $4.99 fee. I would just make a quick design. So I would type out whatever the idea says, take a couple seconds, save the file, and then I would go over onto gearbubble.com and I would launch a campaign. So I would, what that means is a tricky way of saying you're going to go into Gearbubble, say you want to launch a mug. Open that up. There's going to be a picture of a blank mug. You'll put the picture of your design or your text that you just created right on top of it. And then you'll just put in the title for it, hit next, put in whatever price you want to charge for it. And then it's called launch. You launch and the mug is now live. And there's pictures that make it look like the mug is actually like a real thing that has been made. And then you hit upload. And you can, from there, upload it to Etsy or upload it to Amazon, and then it'll be available for sale. And it looks like, I mean, so you never actually have to buy the inventory or anything. You're just going to take this type, like make the designs. And what I usually like to do is I'll come up with phrases that can be used for lots of different niches. So, for example, maybe something like knitting because it's cheaper than therapy, could also be running because it's cheaper than therapy, scrapbooking. And so I'll make lots of different designs in just a few seconds each. I mean, I'll be sitting at the dentist, like waiting for my appointment. I'll make tons of these different designs, tons of things to sell. And it's just easy. It's really easy and fast. And then you can have lots of kind of buy buttons out there for people to be able to purchase from you.
There's something called the 80-20 rule that seems to apply to many areas of life, like 20% of your customers bring in 80% of your revenue, or 20% of your operations bring in 80% of your revenue. And I wonder if that holds in this case. You have a lot of designs, I'm sure, on Amazon and Etsy, but I wonder if just 20% of them bring in 80% of the money, and some of them just bring, or is it that you have a bunch of them and each one of them just brings in a few dollars a month, but you have so many that it adds up? Or is it really that there are a bunch that let's just say are home runs and that's where most of your revenue comes from.
Yeah, there's definitely the 80/20 rule. I'm a big believer in that too. I mean, there's many designs that I'll make like one-offs on, but last year, definitely the 80/20. I think there was like on the Amazon income, do you want me to share numbers or?
Yeah, why not? Sure.
Yeah, so last year I think I made about 500K on Amazon. I would say a couple 100,000 were just from my top like 5 designs actually, and then there's the next subset, and then there's so many like ones and twosies that we say that each mug on Amazon is about $7 and change profit. So you get a bunch of those that add up. But for sure, it's just that you never really know which ones are going to take off. So if you keep on posting lots of new designs, then like you'll figure out, and then you can kind of maximize. Like I have one, says I do this for the money, said no social worker ever. And years ago, that one did really well. And so once I saw that did well, I do this for the money, said no firefighter, government worker, police officer, and on it. So I kind of maximized it, but I wouldn't have known without throwing spaghetti at the wall.
Right. Now, I like that you don't make wild claims about this, because I think in general people can do pretty well with this because it's kind of intuitive what it is you're supposed to do. It helps to have training in it, but it's not a world that's completely foreign to people. And so I think some people can do reasonably well, but not everybody is going to have a monthly vacation to Hawaii as a result of it. So, what's your experience, first of all, in terms of how well people do? Is it a matter of they're not putting in the effort, or they just aren't good enough with designs? Like, what are the stumbling blocks that, let's say, most people who stumble are encountering?
I think the biggest stumbling block is when people try to overcomplicate it. So they just don't believe me that it can really be easy, and so they'll try to add images or so that's one thing where they just like I always say just black text on a white mug, keep it simple. And the way I explain it is, let's say you're selling something for pit bulls and you have a picture of a pit bull and the pit bull has blue eyes on the picture. Someone might look at that and say, well, my pit bull doesn't have blue eyes, so I don't want this. It's like the more variables you put in, the more opportunities for people to not purchase. So that's one thing. The other thing is that people will come up with phrases that they're like, oh, this is really funny. And they'll publish it, which is nice, but if nobody is searching for that phrase, then no one's going to ever see it. So you could have the funniest phrase in the world, but unless someone types in for that particular phrase, or it could like be applied to something else, that's just not that would be more of a Facebook thing, right? Where you put that phrase in front of other people and try to convince them to buy it. But I always tell people you want to go after what they're actively saying they want to give you money for. They are typing in funny mug for runners or funny gift for scrapbookers, whatever. Give them that. Don't overcomplicate it. That's the biggest thing, I think.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. So what would you say is the kind of time frame somebody's looking at to kind of get into the real groove of this? Because it seems like once you get the hang of it, you can crank out all kinds of product ideas. But how long does it take to get to a point where you feel comfortable, like you could almost do it in your sleep, like you can?
We'll do it in your sleep and get started, I guess, would be different answers. So the getting started, we've had people, you were mentioning that webinar, and thank you for your nice words about it. We've had people throughout the webinar, like before it was over, have their first product listed and selling. So you could do that. In terms of feeling comfortable with it, it really is a very simple system. I don't think it takes long to get going. Do a couple hours really and have some listings up ready to go. It's I do my best to keep it very simple. I mentioned to you I have other businesses and things that I'm running. This is actually my third business in terms of like the attention that I can give to it. And so that means I try to keep it simple and chill because it's it's meant to be a fun kind of thing.
Well, I think that in terms of things that I've talked about, it might be the quickest one, because even though I'm big on having an email list, of course you have an email list, and that to me is by far my most valuable asset. It's a long, laborious struggle to build an email list. There are ways of making it go faster, but I don't think there's really any way to make it super easy. Once you have it, you're really glad you have it, because that thing can do wonders for you. But if people don't want to endure that, and they don't want to figure out the ins and outs of email marketing and stuff like that, they can do this without doing any email at all, right? There's no email involved in per se.
Yeah, yeah. This is meant for people. I like a lot of people will go through the system, or they'll get it for like the people in their lives that maybe aren't entrepreneurs or don't want to be entrepreneurs or don't want to deal with the email list and building all this. Now, sometimes people will eventually build email lists. Let's say one of their 80/20 mugs is something that we'll say in the nursing profession. They say, well, I'm getting a lot of leverage in the nursing. Maybe I'll build an email list. But for the most part, this is really designed as a passive income play. So it's more like, people will say, this is covering my Jeep payment every month, my proceeds from low-hanging system, or I just bought hockey tickets from this, or something like that. It's not like a big, because it's meant like, I could call it low-hanging system. It's all about like, let's keep it easy.
Yeah, right. And so I didn't even know, because I don't think you knew who the particular people were, so you didn't tell me, but that when I went to the sales page for your training program some time ago, and you've got testimonials on there, and some of these people are my own people, like people who listen to my podcast, and they're just saying, oh yeah, here's the graph of my last 30 days of sales, and it's just tremendous for me to see that. And then Adam, of course, is, his Christmases are $25K in December. It's astonishing to me that sort of thing is possible. So I want to recommend that people watch your webinar, because as you say, you just watch that thing and you'll have a very, very good sense of what to do and how to get started, and something that, it's not going to feel like drudgery, because you are doing something that's kind of fun, and you can do as much or as little of it as you want. And it's not like a typical job where you have to do X, Y, and Z because the boss is standing over your shoulder and you have to do it. If you want to put up 10 mugs today, you can do that. If you want to do 2 mugs this week, you can do that. You can progress as fast as you have the time to progress. I like a model like that because almost everybody I know is busy, and so this works for a busy person. So I actually, as usual, came up with a simple, short redirect link to help people, and that is tomwoods.com/Rachel. If you go there, you'll be able to sign up to watch this webinar coming up in the middle of this month. That is May of 2020. And you are not by any means going to say, Woods, this was not a good use of my time. No, to the contrary. You're going to write to me and say, you were right. Man, I learned a bundle of stuff by watching this. So tomwoods.com/Rachel. Go do that. You're going to be glad you did. And it is a fun little thing that you can think of as a hobby, but also as a real live business. And it can do really well for you. And as I say, when I myself decided to sort of get into this game, the first person I thought, because I didn't want to bother Rachel to talk to, was one of her own students who happens to be a Tom Woods Show listener, the great and heroic Adam Schneider. Well, Rachel, thank you very much. Any parting words before we call it a day today?
Just thank you. Thank you for listening. And this really is a fun thing. I know some people are at home now more time than ever. And it's super fun to just create these, and kind of like a good bonding experience too. So if you have time, watch the webinar. And you can see how to do it, and it'll be fun.
All right. Very good. tomwoods.com/Rachel is the link. And Rachel, thanks again.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, that'll do it. tomwoods.com/Rachel is where to go. You will love it. You're going to learn a ton while you're watching. I'm telling you, it's every single step you need. Just go watch it. And if you say to yourself, yeah, I could do that, that'd be kind of fun, then great. Take the plunge and go ahead and do it. All right, thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Become a smarter libertarian in just 30 minutes a day. Visit tomwoods.com to subscribe to the show for free, and we'll see you next time.
Like the sound of The Tom Woods Show? My audio production is provided by Podsworth Media. Check them out at podsworth.com.